Is buying IKEA cabinets cheaper than actually making them? And you know how you sometimes feel tricked into thinking things? Well, this video is about going against the crowd and figuring some of that stuff out. It's about going your own way. French cleats, IKEA Scottish, it's all the same. It's like there's one accepted way to build a workshop. Put everything on the wall. But in our home kitchens, we don't store knives and whisks on pegboards to feel inspired to cook. So why do we do that in the workshop? Maybe I'm not thinking straight, but I need to challenge my own preconceptions. Please tell me I'm stupid for doing this. In the comments, not in real life. That would be rude. In the comments, it's fine. Everyone does it. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. It's been a while since I finished my workshop build to the point where all the walls and doors were in place and I could start putting in tools again. And then the plan was to make cabinets for the workshop because you need storage, and I was also very tired of having everything on walls. I wanted to rebel against myself and my idea of how a workshop is supposed to look, tools filling up every centimeter of wall space. The initial plan was to use Velcromat or black MDF, but then my friend Steve stole that idea and made his workshop look absolutely gorgeous. So I have to go for the second best option, IKEA. I'm kidding. Or actually. And that's when I started calculating what the cost would be for my cabinets and drawers and for plywood. I would end up on about 1 sheet of plywood per cabinet with drawers included. And then I looked at MDF. And then I looked at drawer slides and paint and a good bench top. And the thing is, I'm not very interested in building cabinetry. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Some people enjoy it a lot, and a lot of YouTubers are making their own cabinetry for their workshops or for their homes. And then I thought, I wonder what the price would be if I bought it on IKEA instead. And then I thought, I wonder how the price would compare between IKEA and DIY. So I took this a bit further and really started comparing everything. And I mean, I'm not saying it will be cheaper or better buying IKEA cabinets, but if you really get into the cost of things, I realized that getting the same quality drawer slides, I would end up on a pretty hefty amount. Getting bloom drawer slides would immediately get me over the IKEA price, so I would have to go with a cheaper alternative, but even them are quite expensive. So after my best efforts just for the cabinets and for the drawer slides and paint, I was convinced I could just as well go with IKEA and be over with it. So that's what I did. Assembly time. And how long will it take to assemble all this? I don't know. But compared to building it, I hope it's a lot quicker. So let's go. Calculating the cost of plywood left me with a total cost of 8,586 Swedish crowns to make the cabinets, carcass and the drawers with drawer fronts. Then that would be all plywood cabinetry, so if I wanted to paint, that would be an additional 1,500. And with drawer slides I needed 15 of them. A cheap option similar to the IKEA ones were 338 crowns for a pair, which would end up on about 5,070 crowns. That would leave me with a total of 16,176 Swedish crowns. And as I started putting together a simulation with the IKEA kitchen planner, which is a great tool, and I'm not sponsored at all by IKEA, I'm just happy they have this tool, I started to realize this was going to be a close call. I'll get to the total cost a bit later in a true YouTube spirit. It's not to tease and be a douchebag, it's a way trying to disguise me saying please don't stop watching yet, but I know you see through it, but please bear with me here. I know some people don't like the process of putting together IKEA furniture, but to me it's always felt a bit like Lego, but for adults. Sorry. One of the first Christmas gifts I can remember was this Lego pirate ship. I still have it, although in pieces, scattered and a few pieces missing, but I plan to revisit that one day when I really miss my childhood. Much like Lego knock instructions out of the park, IKEA furniture also has that failsafe for really dumb people instructions, which is really good for me. This isn't sponsored, but having one of these chargeable screwdriver kits is invaluable when putting together IKEA furniture. It's so much faster. I couldn't recommend it enough. So what is it about going against the crowd? We all do it. As soon as the artist we used to love turns into a mainstream artist, we kind of lose interest. But I guess not for all of us. When I come into my workshop, I want it to inspire me to make things, and we are all different. But I figured out that for me to be inspired, I need less clutter. I need to feel that my workshop is an empty canvas that I can work with. And for the longest time, I've treated my workshop as an industrial kitchen rather than my home kitchen. In an industrial kitchen, you need to be able to grab the knife fast. You don't have time to open drawers to look for knives. And the same goes for the workshop, so I can't hide my drills, but I don't need my bits on the wall. I can just have them in a drawer. And that's when I decided to go against the crowd and treat my workshop more like a studio than a traditional woodworking workshop. I wanted to feel welcoming and inspiring for me. But as much as this might feel inspiring to me, it might not feel the same to you. So I guess the thing I want to say is that I just think that it's good to take a step back and away from the preconceived notion we have about what things should be and make it the way we want to. I heard a story where a group of adults were asked to draw an ambulance. Before I let you know what happened, think of how you would draw an ambulance if given the task. Nearly all of them drew a white van with a red cross on it. Although ambulances haven't looked like that in Sweden since the early 80s. We all have preconceived notions of how things should look, and I've had a preconceived notion of how my workshop should look based on workshops I've visited and workshops I've seen on YouTube. Look at this! So much storage! I mean, come on! I just have to make the drawers first. Let's go. They do everything so well, but the cardboard boxes are impossible to open in a controlled manner. Don't know why. Countless videos show how to make French cleats and different French cleat holders for all sorts of tools. I used to have a bunch of IKEA Scottish pegboards, and it worked great and looked fine, but most of the things on that wall I never even touched. But the elephant in the room and the absolute counter argument for not storing things on the walls is of course space. We're most often cramped for space, so yes, it's easy for me to say with a brand new workshop. But in my defense, everyone who ever visited my last workshop were surprised by the size of it. They thought it was much bigger from watching my videos, but in reality it was only 12 square meters of functional space. This new workshop is about 45 square meters, but then I took 6 of them to build my office. So that leaves me with about 39 square meters of workshop. So basically the minimum standard for a 2-car garage. But still, I get it, not everyone can afford the luxury of leaving walls empty or place artwork on them. Can I just say something real quick about IKEA and being a maker? Because at first I wasn't gonna showcase this in a video at all. Mostly because I guess I kind of felt ashamed that I, a YouTube woodworker, would just buy my way out of the final stages of my workshop build. But the irony is that using IKEA is actually my way of customizing this space. I don't want to spend 2 weeks making cabinets, I want to spend 2 weeks using this workshop. Everyone says IKEA is for people who don't build, but maybe it's for people who want to make other things. Well, what do you think? Am I making any sort of sense here at all? I don't know, but now I had to repeat this step again because I have more to build. The last thing I did was to try out my new tool, which is a 3D scanner. Because all the drawers are getting fancy 3D printed storage boxes, but some of the things are really hard to draw. Take this for instance. This is the Festool TID18. But this isn't the easiest to draw up, so for this instance I used my 3D scanner. It's the Creality Raptor Pro, and what it does is basically a scan of the thing and turns that into a digital version of what you're scanning. It can do blue lights and IR depending on what type of accuracy you need. And when the scan is done, you can use the file in the computer to make a cutout. And that's pretty neat. This scanner uses these reflective dots, and the package came with stickers, but you don't want to totally waste them, so I actually had this hardware for a lazy Susan knocking about And I used that and 3D printed myself a base plate and some other things to put the Lazy Susan together. With that as a guide, I can then scan my tool and work on it until I have a really good scan. Now, this isn't a quick fix to get perfect 3D files, but it sure gets me really close to what I want. I could then use that scan to create a cutout in a 3D print and create a storage for just that tool that can then go into one of these drawers. And talking about 3D files, I've been working with PCBWay for years now, and they're always incredible in helping people out with their custom designs. Take this for instance. A lot of people saw this key in one of my previous videos and they warned me not to show this on camera. It was the key to my old workshop. I drew that up in CAD and sent the file to PCBWay, and they made me a copy of the key in brass with my logo on it. And they can do that in many different ways with a bunch of different types of materials. So thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video and for being a great company, and also a lot more on making 3D printed boxes in the next video, so if you're into that, keep a lookout. I calculated that the cost of making it myself would come down to a price of 16,176 Swedish crowns. That was without the bench top, because that would be the same price in the end. I wanted this walnut bench top ever since I saw it. And even though I know this is IKEA and of course it's veneered, it is made as a kitchen top and the veneer is actually quite thick. Well, the final cost for the IKEA cabinets ended up on 18,456 without the bench top. It would have been cheaper to make the cabinets myself. And if I enjoyed making cabinets, I would have, but doing it this way saved me a lot of time. The more I priced it out, the more I realized that I could build it myself and maybe save 2,000 Swedish crowns. But I'd hate every minute of it. I don't know why we're so eager to trade our time and energy for marginal savings. So even though IKEA was more expensive, it saved me a lot of time. Could I have saved a little more building it myself? Sure. But I'd rather save my time for the things I love building. And for me, that's not cabinets, that's ideas. So I guess what I'm saying, make your own space yours, not Instagram's, not YouTube's, yours. I'll rebuild that Lego pirate ship someday, but these cabinets, I'm really happy I didn't have to. I guess I started this project wondering if buying cabinets were cheaper than actually making them, and I've realized it kind of doesn't matter, because the real value is in making a space that is good for you.